The Player, Episode 2, Ante Up. I really like this episode because it really touched on a couple of things that they brought up from the first episode. Mainly, is Alex's wife actually dead? And the thing that excited me the most about it is the fact that Wesley Snipes' character, whose name I totally can't remember, so the pit boss, he even believes that his wife is actually still alive. And when that happened at the end of this episode, that kind of became my favorite part because it's, as much as I love the episode, like this had some amazing action in it, even more than the last one. So, I know we can't expect it to just continually ramp up, but I love the way that they did the action in this, especially the ending airplane stuff, which was just really well done. But, aside from just great action, just the story is always the most important. And when it's something that is going to be a big mystery that builds up and is going to be paid off later on, that's what kind of keeps you invested, when it's the overarching storylines and not just this episode. And unfortunately, they did some stuff that I didn't like. Like, they killed off the guy that did. Well, I don't know. I guess if she's not dead, it doesn't matter. But, oh, crap, I didn't even think of that while watching it. But to me, it was like, oh, they killed the guy off, and he won't get his revenge moment. But with her, if she's really not dead, which she probably isn't, because still the tattoo thing, like, no matter what the DNA stuff says, especially, with what he said at the end, where he's like, he figured that the company or whatever it is, because I think we all know it's more than just the pit boss and the dealer and then the player and, the bettors. There has to be something a bit beyond that. Whoever actually made the technology and whoever brings in new players and new pit bosses, well, I guess not new players because the pit boss does that, but whoever brings in the next pit boss, there has to be someone like in that area that has a set, you know, position or something like that. So he knew, like Alex was like, you guys tampered with the DNA test. I know you did. And the pit boss says like, no, we didn't. But he didn't, at least. So it could be something beyond him, or it could just be another organization out there. But whatever it is, that was a great reveal when he's like, I don't think she's dead either. And basically, I'm going to help you figure this out because we kind of, they're in this situation where they sort of know everything. I mean, they have a thing that basically predicts crimes, when crimes are going to happen. Even though we really learned in this episode, they do not give a crap. It's just like, oh, he knows this guy, so we'll help him stop this. But they don't give a crap about other crimes, which didn't stand out as much in the last episode, but it really stood out in this one when it was like, I think the crimes happened, and then they called Alex in, and then they were like, 3 days ago or something, the crime in the opening scene happened. I was like, they waited forever to actually get in touch with him. And he was like, in the opening scene, he's like, call the player, like the game has begun. And then Alex comes in and is like, 3 days ago. I'm like, that's a huge difference in time. Like, they could have killed almost a dozen other people in that time, depending on, what they were going to be doing. But I guess just chalk that up to their algorithms or whatever. But just that reveal at the end where he's like, I don't think she's dead and I'm going to help you, was very surprising to me. And I loved it. It has me really excited for, I don't think it'll be like the next episode, boom, answers. But down the line somewhere, he's going to be helping Alex out to figure out what in the world happened to his wife. And then there's even like the little mini USB chip or mini SD card. So now there's another mystery, like, why was that in there, which she never noticed before? I have to assume that she put it in there. So she was involved in some crazy stuff too that had her hiding this mini, not USB, but mini SD card inside of a picture. So just mysteries abound now about her death and why it happened at all, and just all this craziness. It was so weird now. And I was not expecting that. And I love the fact that they utilize this death to bring out a new mystery instead of, oh, it's just he lost his wife and now it's sad. It's now this crazy thing that I'm sure has happened before, but I've personally never really seen it, where the death was actually totally fake from the very beginning. And it's not like, oh, they faked their own death, which she could. That still could end up being the answer, where she faked her own death. But at this point, it's still just like a crazy mystery that involves much more than just her like faking her own death. There's an organization behind this, or corporation, or whatever you want to call it, but there's something behind her fake death, and that's what has me excited. So I love that ending. I love, like I said, all the action and stuff was amazing as well. It of course ties into Alex and someone that he knew before in the past. They talk about a mission that he worked on in Bengal when he basically used a machine gun to chop a dude's head off, pretty much. Like, he shot him in the head so much, his head came off. Like, that was insane. And then, that was just a look into, like, his really dark past. And then, as the guy mentioned, like, oh, we went and we had beers after that. But I like the guy as the villain. Obviously there's a set of them, so the grouping itself was really cool, but obviously it was the main guy who had the flag mask on. He was obviously the most interesting because he was the one who really said stuff. So it was cool to see him and have him be a part of Alex's past, his dark past, really, and know what this guy was about and how he changed, but it's like, you should just accept who you really are, like we all have, and you'll just have a lot more fun. So I actually enjoyed that, and they were fairly even. They, as far as fighting goes, they were fairly on the same level because they had the same training. They made it to the same level, and that's why they were on the same missions. So it was kind of cool. Like, I enjoyed the fight scenes. The chase scene was awesome. I really, the opening scene was really sweet. The scene where they robbed the bank, where they, acted like the car was stalled in the street, that was pretty fun, too. And we got to see Alex run into his friend who showed up. Not as many questions came out of that as I would have expected, but there were some. We did get the scene later on where he's like, what the heck is happening with you? You were involved, or these two crazy things happen, and you show up and disappear in like a split second from both scenes. What is going on? So of course, he's getting closer. We did get the opening title for this episode as well, and it does show that there are 4 main characters, and it's our pit boss, our dealer, and our player, as well as Alex's friend. So they are the 4 main characters, so we don't have to worry about any of them dying off. I wouldn't expect them to. Only his friend was the person I was worried about, but since he's in the title, it's like, okay, he'll be fine. He's not going to die off. Because I thought for sure the pit boss was going to have the kill order to go to his friend. I thought for sure that's what was going to happen. And then he flipped the picture over. I was like, oh, I didn't think he was going after him. I thought he was for sure going after Alex's friend, because he was trying to figure out what was going on with Alex and what was happening, like even with his wife. He's trying to get more information. But all 3 of them really are kind of working on the same thing. Alex is trying to figure it out. He can't really go to his friend because of the stuff he's involved in, because of course his friend's going to ask him all these questions rather than helping him 100%. I mean, he'll try to help him, but he's going to have all these questions, so he can't exactly go to him. So Alex is on his own. His friend is on his own, and of course the pit boss is doing his thing on his own in this episode at least, but he and Alex can at least work together. And maybe they'll bring in his friend later on. I doubt they will, but maybe that'll be like a season 2 thing where they change the rules or whatever, which we of course saw in this episode, because we got to see only in the 2nd episode Alex technically lost. Like, he failed. The bets that were against him, they won the money, and then they did I kind of wish they just called this episode Double Down instead of Ante Up, because I guess that those are technically 2 different terms, and for whatever reason I've seen enough poker on TV to know that. But they have the people double down, and they give him like an hour, which I was like, man, an hour is nothing. But he made it happen. He goes to the airport, he gets everything done, has an awesome fight scene. And the first thing I expected, which did not surprise me, 2 seconds in after he was fighting with his actual former friend, 2 seconds in with that gun, I was like, boom, oh, there goes the person flying the plane. So that, I was like, every time, it does not matter. The captain or whoever the pilot is, they're dead. It's going to be like, they get shot once, and then the plane's all over the place. It always makes for a cool action scene. But it's just always like, man, it's always a stray bullet. It's never like they put it on autopilot and then they got in the fight. It's just, they didn't know what was happening. Boom, they died, and then the plane's just all over the place. But it was still an awesome fight scene, whether that's been done a billion different times. It's always really fun to watch people, fight. The plane didn't exactly spin around like crazy, so that was a little different, because normally it's just like, oh, the plane's just spiraling out of control. It basically tilted a little, but after that, they basically adjusted in an instant. And then, crazy fight scene, the back of the plane is opened up. I was trying to figure out if that was CG or not when they were doing the stuff outside of the plane, but it ended up being real because they actually have the people fighting in midair, which is just an amazing shot. I thought, like, you could see the backpacks on the people. It was like under their clothes, but it was still really cool. Like, it was like you can't make it just impossible. It would be like some really crazy editing to do some stuff like that, since they were at such high speeds and just moving around a lot. But either way, it was amazing. Like, when he flew out the plane, I was like, oh man, he screwed up. You know, how is he gonna get him? I thought he was gonna basically like take control of the plane, which nothing with the plane. Like, he jumped out, the plane basically didn't exist anymore. So that literally just blew up somewhere. Like, I didn't even think of that while watching it, but he jumped out of the plane and it just blew up. I guess the other guys on the plane, technically, like, he knocked out a guy before he fought the final dude. So I guess that guy, if he knows how to fly a plane, can land it. But other than that, that plane just kept going and it blew up somewhere. But he jumped off the plane with the parachute. I was like, what is he gonna do? And he just jumps out after him. He just takes off behind him, and they fight in midair. He gets the parachute off his former friend, and he puts it on himself. And then Alex is like, I got you. Like, this basically is over. And then he pulls the cord for Alex, and he flies up, and his buddy just drops to the ground. And that looked really cool too. And I was trying to figure out if that was CG as well, because I guess that would just depend on how high they were, because there's always a limit where you have to pull the cord. So they may have done that more than one time, actually, where they jumped out of the plane. But it was definitely super cool. Like, it was a great fight scene. They're just like flipping around in the air and just fighting and stuff, and he gets the parachute off of him. And then he basically does it. He doubles down and he wins, and he's able to continue being the player. And he just watched the guy drop to the earth and die, and it was just a crazy scene. But it was definitely some amazing action. I loved it. Like I said, the robberies were really well done. They were all military, so they were definitely trained. It was full on professional stuff. Like, here's some sticky bombs here. Whatever that stuff was that he sprayed, I thought he was spraying plastique, which is just basically like C4. I thought he was spraying it out of a gun to make a circle, and he would just, like, attach it and hit a button, and then it would blow up the circle. I don't know what he sprayed down that you can burn like that, so I don't know. That was really cool. They had, like, the bombs, and they blew up the stuff. They blew up the windows in the opening scene, which was something else. I thought the truck should have just been all over the place, but I guess that's why they slammed the truck between two other trucks, because they blew it up and then killed the driver and the passenger. And it was just a crazy opening. Like, they took that thing out. They blew up the two cop cars that chased them, which was also really, really cool in slow motion when those first blew up, and they're like kind of sliding towards the camera with the flames underneath them. I thought those looked really well. Like, I thought that was a really nice shot for the action sequences for that opening shot. So I really love that for sure. The slow motion was used very well in that one. The second scene was probably the simplest one, and it was still really amazing. Like, it was still a crazy firefight with all these people. Alex did something that really shocked me when he got out of the car and instantly started shooting. I thought he was gonna, like, stealth it up a little and sneak out of the car and get closer before he started shooting, and he just went boom, 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 and just started shooting. I was like, okay, well, that's still super amazing, but I thought for sure he was gonna sneak behind them or something, and he just breaks, and before he got out of the car, the gun was like in between the car and the door, and it's just boom, boom, boom. So I love that scene. I was like, that surprised me. He just started the action off straight, and they actually did capture one guy in that. Everyone else pretty much just got killed. Alex getting captured was actually a pretty cool scene, and he actually was saved by Cassandra, which I finally remembered her name. And I don't know why that popped into my head, but he actually got saved by her when she lit everything up in the room. That was a cool action scene, especially the first guy he took down, just the way he did it with a sort of reversal, and then he kind of just, reversed it and then shot him twice and then kept going. So all the action scenes, like I said, definitely amazing, ramping up to a pretty epic final fight, because we don't see that often enough, where people are just jumping out of planes. Of course, he did a super badass move, jumping out of the plane, for his character at least, not having a parachute. That was really amazing. So love the action, of course. The story elements ramping up as far as his wife the pit boss not even believing his wife is dead. I love that for sure. So I'm really excited for this show. I think it's doing well. I haven't really looked at like ratings and stuff. Of course, the reviews are always like it's an adrenaline ride and this and that. Every new show does that. So can't really take its word on the new commercials because it's a new series. But it is doing pretty well as far as I'm concerned. I think it's a great action show. It's and I mentioned this in the first episode, but it really is like the network TV version of Strike Back. And basically that just means there's less gore to it, less blood and stuff. But it's on par with Strike Back, or at least it's close enough as it can get. Because I don't know how much money they spent on that show. They blow up some insane stuff on there, but they did some really awesome stuff in these first two episodes. And I'm hoping it's not one of those shows where it's like crazy, crazy, explosive, amazing start, and then it just really dies down because they used up the budget in the first two episodes. But I think they can do some good stuff with it because you don't have to have like trucks blowing up all the time. It can just be Alex using his skills. If he's fighting like 10 guys, it could just be him fighting them in one room, and that can be an amazing scene. So they can make it simple and still be, they can do it simply and still make it amazing. So I'm not actually worried at all. But I love this second episode. Like I said, the ending, new mystery. We also got to meet Cassandra's boyfriend, who is actually the guy from the show Revenge. So that surprised me when I saw him. He played the character Jack Porter. I was like, okay, he's in it. So that was kind of cool. But not much there. We just know that he's doing something. It was something he mentioned with a meet and greet. It wasn't specified what his job was, but she lies about her job. He was totally about to get shot with that Chinese food he had when she went out there, but she has a boyfriend, so that kind of plays into things. It also kind of deters from the seemingly intimate relationship that they were kind of hinting at in the last episode between Cassandra and Alex, because that seemed like the whole reason she was helping him so much. And even the pit boss brought it up in this episode, like, why are you like so concerned about this guy? And I guess that just ties into the stuff with his wife, where they knew each other, but what was the relationship? Was she in something before she was involved in involved in the game? So it brings up a lot of questions. I don't know, but I'm excited for it. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I gotta ask what you guys thought about the end fight scene, because like I said, that was just an amazing set piece. It was a little hard to see because of course they're just falling through the sky. It's like you can't have the most beautiful angles ever, but it was definitely amazing. The angles were good enough to be like, this is just well done. So I loved it, but I want to know how that affected you guys. Like, did you expect that to happen, where they actually had two guys kind of flipping around in the air in real life, just flipping around in the air, fighting each other for an ending fight scene? Like, did that surprise you guys? Was it, did it mess you up that you could see the parachutes, if you guys did? Because like I said, I noticed it because it was a little hard not to, because they do come out a little bit square. But sometimes, you get one shot, maybe two, because I'm sure that actually costs quite a bit to be just flying through the air, having two people do that. So probably cost a bit of money. I'm sure those weren't just skydivers. There's probably some well-paid stuntmen doing that stuff. But I want to know how that final fight scene affected you guys. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.